Alright, in this video, we're going to go over how to price out items, especially in the service or repairs department, depends on how you define it. So essentially what we're looking for is our gross margins. The margin goal that you want to get to, or as close to as possible, is 60 for the most part. In not every case are you going to get to 60. Of course, with the cost of the parts. It's all relative to the cost of your parts. So the more expensive they are, the lower your margin is going to be because you can't sell it for an exorbitant amount because they won't buy. So we're going to go over how you actually get to that gross margin and determining that. So really there's three areas that you're looking at. Well, four, 45% gross for extremely expensive items, 50% gross for most of the time competing with other people, such as one-polers that don't have a lot of overhead. 55% margins, which is a very comfortable number. 55% margins is a high approval rating number. And then 60% margins for less expensive items that you can obtain that. Such as, I mean, if it's a part that's over $500, your 60% margins can be difficult to get to. Doesn't hurt to strive for that though. So I'm going to go over what's the point to actually get to that. So I have a price list which helps me out, and up here you notice there's 60 and 50% margins. The markup percentage of 50% margins is a markup of 200%. So it's the cost of parts times 2 plus labor. So if you wanted to go up to 55% margins, it'd be 225% markup, and then 60% margins, 250% markup. So it goes in 25% increases. So 45% would be 175, 50% would be 200, 55% would be 225, and 60% is 250% markup. Now, a lot of people don't have a price list like this. If you don't have one, I recommend that you create one based on the pricing that you receive. So if you're in the case of actually just using a calculator, it's the same concepts. The only difference is the 225%, which in this case is 55% margins. Let's just say, I'll just make this easy, 200% margins. 200% markup equals 50% margins. The only difference is if you're using a calculator, you just place a decimal number right there, and now it's just 2 times whatever the cost of your parts are by 2. If you're doing 50% markup, you're going to take whatever the cost of your parts are, and you're going to times it by 2.5, or excuse me, 2.25. If it's 60% margins, you're going to do it by 2.5. So that's the easiest way to get to that point. Anytime you times your markup or your parts at wholesale times 2.5, it's going to equal that. So we're going to go through exactly how we get to where it is that we're trying to get. So let's just use this one, the Electro Booster Pump. The cost is $246. Don't mind all this information. I modify it on the fly sometimes. So we know that the part is $246. Now we pay tax, sales tax, not at the counter. We pay it once per month. So we have to make sure that we account for tax. That is not on this price list. So I need to do $246 and add tax to that. So I'm going to times it by 0.0825%, which is the Texas tax rate, 6.25% Texas state tax, 2% local. And then once I get that answer, $20.29 plus $246, the cost of the part. Now the cost of my parts after tax. Now I need to actually set it to my margins. So I'm going to actually do 60% margins on this, times that by 2.5. That's 60% margins on that part, and then I need to add my labor into it because you cannot tax labor. Labor is minimum 1 hour, $125 per hour. There we go. That is the price that we are looking for this Electro Booster Pump, $790.73. That is a fair price for a booster pump. So notice, $246, completely doable to obtain your 60% margins. Let's look at a WhisperFlow 2 horsepower pump. It costs $525.76. That's a little bit different. So $525.76. I'm going to add in my tax. There we go, and I'm going to times that by 60% margins and add my labor to it. You're going to get outbid on that pretty often. So chances of that happening is pretty slim to none. So realistically, in one like this, we would actually need to drop the margins a little bit because we are trying to stay competitive. We want to get the money. It may not be as much money, but it is money. So I'm just going to do it by 55% margins, 1,405. That is doable. Doesn't seem like a massive difference, but it is competitive. And that's really what it is. So as for defining what your gross margins are, essentially what it is your parts cost, POs or inventory, whatever you define them as, plus how much you're paying the technician to do the work divided by the overall revenue of the job. That will actually be your gross margin. So anytime you bid a job, you want to shoot for a 60 to 55% margin dominantly, 60 to 55% margin on every single job. That way, whenever it's all said and done and tied in, you're resting at that on payroll, and you're not trailing. There are a few items, such as heaters, that are completely just way too expensive to be able to sell at markups that high. So you kind of have to look at your environment and find out what's going to work best for who you're competing with. So I'll just, for the sake of it, do the Jandy JXI 400. Cost $2,064.88. Very expensive heater. Times that by the tax code. Where is it? $2,064.88. There we go. Now if I times that by 2.5, it's already too expensive. I can't even add labor to that. This is one where you have to really start looking at what are your options. You're not going to get a 60% margin on them. Anytime you sell a heater, anticipate for that week your profits are going down a little bit. It's nice because it's a large sum of money at one time. You're going to be making $1,000 to $2,000 on this thing when it's all said and done, but your margins are coming down. So I'm going to times this by 1.75, which is 45% markup. So we're not even timesing it by 2. It's 175% markup. We're only getting 75% of our return back. $3,911. Even that is a long shot to actually obtain. Really it is. So we're just going to keep on going. 2064. That's in our environment. You know, I can't speak for everybody's environment, but I can speak for ours. Times it by 1.5. We're only making 50% over our return. $3,352.84. Well, 85 cents. This is a lot more doable. This heater is going to take 2 hours to put in, $3,602.84. That is right on the money for where you want to sell a heater and remain competitive. In some cases, you can sell them for $3,800. It's kind of relative to the environment that you're in, what all you're putting into it. If you have to do a lot of work, a lot of plumbing, the gas line is really beat up, push that more towards $3,800 because it's going to take you more time. It's going to cost you more parts at the Home Depot getting all of that stuff. But essentially, that's the way it works. So, again, gross margins, it's parts or inventory, whatever you want to call it, POs, plus what you're paying the technician to perform the work divided by the overall revenue of the job. That's how you get your gross. 60%, if you take any number and times it by 2.5, that's 60% on the actual part. 60% gross on the parts. 2.2 times it by 2.25, it's 55%. Times it by 2, that's 50%. And the best way to think of it is, if you times something by 2, what did you make? 100% markup. You just times it by 2. So you paid for the parts, and you got the full value of the parts back, plus the full value of the parts on top of that as well. So, and these are just good ways and rules. The easiest thing that you can do, of course, is go through your supplier, ask for a price list for all of your stuff, and create a spreadsheet like this. So it's as simple as, if my computer would speed up a little bit. Have to bear with this thing for a minute now. So it's as simple as this. I need a price. I'm selling an electro booster pump, $246. It already calculates my tax. I know it's going to take us 1 hour, and I want to sell it for 55% margins. $724.60. Actually, never mind. I want to sell it for 60% margin. $790.74. There you go. And I can do this all day. Does not matter. It's quick. It's easy. And that is it.